This is the Book Legion Podcast, where we review thought-provoking books to give our Legionnaires the knowledge they need to dominate the next level of their life.
Everybody, thanks for joining me on the Book Legion. My name is Tyzer Evans. This is our very first episode, so just to kind of let you know exactly what our intention is and what we will be doing and covering week to week, the Book Legion is dedicated to doing book reviews on books that will take you to the next level. I'll be covering self-help, self-development, leadership, sales, spirituality, health books, optimization books, habit books, goal-setting books, everything to help you elevate your life to the next level. That is the intention of the Book Legion. What we want to do is create a community of our Legionnaires, people who are vested in getting the most out of their life. My biggest fear in life is leaving potential on the table. And the best resource for me to be able to elevate, and I think for everybody else to elevate, is learning from other people's experience, knowledge, and wisdom. And where better place to do that than in books? So today, the very first book that we're going to be covering on the Book Legion is Grant Cardone's book, The 10X Rule. What I will do in the Book Legion for all episodes moving forward is I will cover who the author is, my favorite 3 chapters, and then a synopsis of whether or not I recommend the book and where to find the book, because even if I don't recommend it and I didn't appreciate it, it doesn't mean that you wouldn't. So I'll have all that information always in the show notes, so you can always just scroll right down, find where to get it, and more information about the author, so you can get on your journey and read the full book. The point of this is not to explain to you exactly what the book is, but to intrigue your interest or not intrigue your interest on some of the highlights of the books and some of my biggest takeaways. Obviously, I'm going to put my own spin and my own opinions on the takeaways. They may differ, yours may differ. I would love to hear back from you in comments, emails, show notes, letting me know exactly what your takeaways were. Please always feel free to reach out and let me know if there's any books you would like me to cover, review, to go over. I'd love to hear your feedback very much. So without further ado, let's jump into the 10X rule. So let's jump into who Grant Cardone is. Grant Cardone was born in 1958 in Lake Charles, Louisiana. He had a really traumatic event happen to him when he was 10 years old. He came from a really, upper middle class family. He was kind of started off as middle class. His dad got into stocks and was a trader and did very well for himself, always had a really keen interest in real estate, but unfortunately passed away when Grant was only 10 years old. Leaving Grant's mom behind with all of their kids, Grant had another brother, a sister, and a twin brother. So it was a big responsibility for the mom to take on 4 children, all of young ages. She was a stay-at-home mom. So immediately they had to pivot their lifestyle and went into a scarcity mindset. And this really has played a big factor on who Grant is and how he views the world today. So as Grant got older, he was someone that unfortunately, because he did not have a strong male role model in his life, he got into drugs and alcohol. Eventually, he got clean and sober at the age of 25 and got into car sales. Now, going through car sales, he learned about sales, which is where he launched his first business. He had a seminar business in the car industry where he went around revolutionizing the way that cars were sold. He didn't like kind of the business practices and the ways that cars were sold, your typical car salesman, right? Whenever you think of a salesperson, you always think of a car salesman. So Grant said, hey, there's got to be a better way to do this. So he constructed a better way of doing that. And then he spent the next 20 years flying around the country doing sales seminars for car dealerships. So as Grant grew that business, he also got into a couple other businesses, but his main focus that he really started to dive into was real estate. He saved up over $1 million by the age of 35. And that was when he first purchased his first multi-family complex in Vista, California. I believe he purchased it for like 1.9 million or somewhere in that range, 1.5 to 1.9. He took that within 36 months, sold it for 3.9 million, and just like that, overnight became a multimillionaire. It showed him a lot about how you can leverage real estate, made him fall in love with real estate. And I would say today, that's probably what he's best known for, other than being an influencer. He is now, year to date, this is a time of recording this, February of 2021, Grant has $2.3 billion in real estate. He's really exploded in the last 2 years. I've been following Grant for about 4 years. When I first started following him, he had about 500 million in real estate. So you can see in the last 4 years, he's put another 1.5 billion on the books. So without further ado, let's get into my top chapters of the 10X rule. and let you guys know what I thought. So the first chapter I want to talk to you about is chapter 4. Success is Your Duty is the title of the chapter. And this is a common theme. If you followed Grant for any period of time, you understand that he sees success as his duty, obligation, and responsibility. This chapter really drives home the point that success is an option if you want it to be. And if you leave success as an option, you're never going to achieve it. You have to make success an obligation to yourself and to your family. If you leave it up to chance, you're never going to be as successful as you want. If you leave it up as an option, you're never going to be as successful as you want. He also really talks about in this chapter that there is no such thing as an overnight success. That luck is a product or a byproduct of success. He talks about how to start compounding. Once you drill in your goals and your targets and you start to see a little bit of success, what that does is it builds momentum. When you have the momentum, you're able to cultivate more success. And that just starts spiraling upwards, right? So then he talks about once you start having the compound of success, you start to build confidence. Then you see that really success is a byproduct of hard work. You making it your responsibility, your obligation. There's no such thing as overnight success. It comes from sheer will, effort, and dedication to yourself and to your family. So that was my big takeaway from chapter 4, is that success is not an option. You have to want it and go get it. The next chapter that I want to talk to you guys about is chapter 11, the middle class. And this really hit home for me. You know, he talks about the middle class. There's lower middle class, and there's middle class, and there's upper middle class. All kind of fall in the same category according to him. I grew up lower middle class, so it's something that really resonated to me because my parents are always trying to get into the middle class because it seems more secure. What he really tries to drive home here is the middle class secure? Is it, or do you have security by just having enough? And that was something that really resonated with me. So many of us are like, man, if I could just get to $60,000 a year or $80,000 a year, then I would be set. Then I would be financially free. But really, are you? Because as you start to level up and you start to get more income within that middle class bracket, you realize that your bills just level up with you. And so there's really never a sense of financial freedom or security with being in the middle class. So what he's really trying to instill in with you is don't be like your parents. Don't strive to be in the middle class. It's kind of like going back to success. To chapter 4, that success is an option. When you make success as a non-option, you make it your duty, your responsibility, your obligation, then you don't think the way that the middle class thinks. You start to think the way that billionaires think. You start to think the way that Grant thinks. That it is not a choice. I have to get this done. I have to be successful. Because living in the middle class, you're basically living just paycheck to paycheck, barely getting ahead. Statistically right now, again, February 2021, 50% of Americans have $400 less in their savings account. $400 or less in their savings account. Is that security? Is that security being in the middle class? For me personally, I tell you what, I'm 36. I'm in the upper middle class as far as income bracket wise, and upper middle class is defined by anybody who probably makes between $400 and $1 million. And I can tell you, just like Grant said, as more money I've made, the more bills I've taken. I've bought nicer cars, I've got bigger houses, I've got better toys, we've got more expensive vacations, right? So really the point of this is to start to break that shift, the middle class, that there is no security. If you want financial security and be able to build generational wealth, you have to look at how wealthy people operate. You have to look at how can I get into real estate? How can I build an asset portfolio? How can I get more tax shelters? You have to get out and break this chain of having a middle class mindset. The last chapter that I want to talk to you guys about that I thought was really impactful for me and really relevant was chapter 21, and that was the chapter title is called Excuses. And Grant is a no bullshit, no excuses kind of guy. So he says that you never improve your situation by having excuses, and it's true. When was the last time that you gave an excuse to somebody for not doing something or not fulfilling something, and you gave somebody an excuse or you gave yourself an excuse and it improved your situation? Never. And so really the point of this chapter was to eliminate all excuses from your life. They are completely worthless. They don't help you accomplish your targets or your goals. All they do is they, in your mind, give you a sense of a justification for your failure at hitting a target or a goal. And what Grant talks about, and I truly believe this myself, is that you should just got to own it. You just got to own it. You have to have accountability and ownership of your failures. And when you have accountability and ownership of your failures, it allows you to learn the lesson. It allows you to learn the lesson and then pivot differently the next time you encounter that same problem, or you're faced with an opportunity that you know that you should have exploited, but you didn't because of fear, but you made the excuse because, oh, my wife wouldn't let me, or I have kids, or I already work full time, so it's too hard for me to have a side hustle. Oh, I can't lose weight just because I was born big bone, so there's really no point. I should just still go eat the McDonald's because it'll be too hard for me to lose weight, or I'm too far gone, right? Like, people can justify anything. They can rationalize anything in their mind. And the point of this chapter was to fucking stop it. Stop with the madness. Stop validating your inadequacies. Acknowledge what they are. Double down on your strengths. Improve your weaknesses. Cut out the excuses and have complete ownership and accountability in your life. So that was a really favorite chapter of mine. All the chapters, I think in total, there was 23 chapters. They're all about 5 to 10 pages, which I personally love when authors do that. It's harder for me to read books when the chapters are 50 or 60 pages. I like that bite size. You get in, you get out, you can read 2 chapters, read 10 pages. You get some nuggets and you put it down and read it tomorrow. So overall, the 10X book, I loved. I give it 2 thumbs up. I don't know that I have a grading system yet, but I highly recommend you getting this book. It'll help to start to rewire and change your mind when it comes to success and your obligation and your duty. And I think with books like this, if anything, if you've never read this type of material, what Grant really tries to do is give you permission to be the best you. And I love people who send that message. That whatever your dreams, aspirations, and goals are in life, that the only person stopping you from doing that is yourself. And he really drives this point home in the book. So absolutely, I recommend this book. Go pick it up. It's going to be in my show notes. You can purchase the book there. Just click the link. It'll take you right to Amazon, to Grant's store. You can purchase it. Grant's also got a ton of resources on his website, grantcardone.com, which I'll also post in the show notes. I really appreciate you guys being a part of this journey. Please reach out to me, follow me on social media, our LinkedIn page, our Instagram page, just the Book Legion on Instagram and Facebook. Hit me up there. I love to build a community of Legionnaires, people who are dedicated to personal development and becoming the best version of yourself. Thanks so much. I look forward to talking to you guys next time around.